From the great state of Texas, you are now listening to Skip the Noise Podcast, a Rounded Edge media production. Thank you so much for joining us. And by us, of course, I'm referring to Rick, aka the Brown Python, and yours truly, Benji, here for another fantastic episode. Shout out to Mike Tacklebox for the music. And no, unfortunately, Mexican Nostradamus will not be joining us for the evening. Something came up, and but we do have a show going, which is nice to say because we've been off for a few weeks. Schedules have been tight, but hey, we're in here. It's been a while. We're determined. We're very determined, much like the general of the Wagner Group.
I don't know how you can call it determined. I mean, he didn't finish, you know? I mean,
he sure didn't. He started out very determined.
He teased a lot.
He teased.
He didn't finish.
He didn't
He teased
finish.
a lot, man. And then he walked out and said, I'm done. And we're like, what? You're not even finished yet.
Yeah, so explain what exactly the fuck happened there. Because that's to the average person.
All right, so here on the surface, this is what we know. The Russian government has mismanaged this war in Ukraine very poorly, okay?
Right.
And they hired some mercenaries called the Wagner Group, headed by a gentleman by the last name of Bergozzi. And what ended up happening was it was so poorly mismanaged that at some point 2,000 of his men have died at the hands of Russia's military.
Right.
Okay. And you got to keep in mind that these mercenaries, they know war. They fought in Syria. They fought in Crimea. They fought in Russia. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fighting Ukraine right now. And they're really good at what they do. So when they see, the minister of war or whatever in Russia, whoever handles the military and within the government, mismanage the war, where it leads to the death of 2,000 of his men, he gets pissed. He's like, what the fuck is going on here? I mean, you're not giving me supplies on time. You're not feeding my guys. You're not paying me. What the hell? I'm going to go over there and kick your ass.
Mm-hmm.
So this past weekend, he was marching. Him and his 25,000 men were marching towards Moscow this weekend, and they stopped. Like maybe about, I don't know how far, they were like 70 miles away from Moscow. They were close, and nobody was going to stop them. Then they turn around and they retreat, and people are like, "What the hell happened?"
Yeah, he just,
it's not because he was fearing the Russian military.
He just changed his mind.
He just changed his mind. Yeah. Now, I have a theory about this.
I was about to ask. So just also to note, before they actually started marching on Moscow, like he declared, made a big public deal, basically declaring war on Russia, right?
Correct.
On behalf of the Wagner Group. And
correct.
So they proceeded. And like you said, it was looking like, okay, they're legit going to go try to take over Moscow.
Yeah.
And so he halted it, said he changed his mind. So go for what's your, because I've got some I've got some theories myself, but I'd like to hear what.
So you got to understand, as of now, it's all been a lot of posturing, a lot of, the official narrative was, there's going to be a lot of Russian death, and, I'm for Russia. I am against the government, but I am not against the people. So I don't want to put anyone's lives in danger.
Right.
Okay. I get that. I mean, this guy, he's pretty dedicated to Russia, apparently. Okay. That can happen. However, this is my theory, because you got to follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
If this guy were to go into Moscow and take out these people who are running the war into Ukraine, he essentially puts an end to the Ukraine war. And guess what happens to all the people profiting from the Ukraine war? Well, they get pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
And what ends up happening, I'm pretty sure someone in Moscow told this guy, like, look, dude, this is way bigger than what you think. Do not march your 25,000 men in here, because they're all going to be gone, and it's not going to be by us.
Right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's something like that happened, because how is he going to be determined to change out the history of the government in Russia and then turn around, because he faces no real opposition? Nobody was going to stop this guy from doing it.
No.
Except the powers that be that are running this war in Ukraine, who stand to lose a lot of money if this were to stop immediately.
Not only that, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
That was it. That was it. And that's my full hat theory, that there's bigger powers out there that this guy had to be made aware of, and let them know, like, look, dude, this is not us. Okay, you're gonna piss off a lot of people, and the Wagner Group will cease to exist, and it's not gonna be by our hand. It's better we just turn around, walk away. We won't even press charges on you. Okay,
Yeah.
you can go free. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, right. And as much as, regardless of what side the nations are on as far as the Ukraine and Russia war, fucking taking me a long time to get this out of my mouth, sorry. But regardless of what side anybody is, nobody really, I don't think, is in the interest of having a mercenary group take over a fucking world power like Russia, right? I don't think that's on anybody's, that's kind of worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And China, United States, I don't think anybody wants that. So you factor that in too. And yeah, but what I take away from all of this, honestly, is just how fragile and how it's just, this situation is so volatile and so dynamic, like it moves at the speed of light. And at any given moment, man, it's just really scary. The consequences, branched out, could be the varying degrees of what could possibly come out of this are very, very none of them. There's not a lot of good scenarios, honestly. And that one in particular is pretty down on the spectrum.
I mean, Ben was saying that, it kind of shows how weak the Russian government really is.
For sure.
When they're threatened by 25,000 army of mercenaries. Yeah. And that's a real threat to them. But I think one of their complaints was, like, the Russian military is sending us, poorly trained teenagers to come and fight with us, and they end up killing us. Yeah. So they're pretty pissed off about that, Right.
And this, also too, like, this whole thing might be kind of like a bluff in the interests of, kind of like a strike almost, or something from a like a labor group, very, I guess, a little more high consequences strike, but somewhere along those lines.
Yeah. I mean, I'm
just
sure
like,
hey,
you're not going to give us what you need. We could really fuck some shit up if you don't keep us happy, type of, message he's trying to send.
But what happened? Why back out at the end? Is it, did
like
they get what they wanted?
Maybe. Yeah. Maybe under the table. Maybe it's like, that could be too, right? Like, maybe it's under the table. It's like, hey, look, guys, nobody wants to see this happen. Here's what could possibly happen. We'll let you save face. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can't really say Russia's saving face, because this doesn't look good. Like you said, it kind of exposes how fragile the whole thing is, and their government.
But you know what? I haven't heard anyone talk about. Okay, so the Wagner mercenary group, the 25,000 man army, is no longer in Ukraine. What happens now? Does this mean that Ukraine is going to win the war within the next few weeks? Right. Or does it keep going on indefinitely so that people can make money off of it?
That's the thing too, right? A lot of people, like we've talked about this numerous times, it's a money generator. I'm convinced. This is obvious things. I mean, there's a reason, right, that the United States, we've been at war on some level for the last since 2000, 20 something years. And before that, or what was it? Somebody read a statistic recently that I heard. I have no idea where I heard it, but in the United States, the whole entire history, right, we've been at war like 75% of the time.
That's crazy, man.
Which is kind of crazy. Like the one time in the history that we were not at war is like when we were coming up. Think about it. Because it was post-Vietnam.
So. That's true.
Post-Vietnam, right up into, there was the Gulf War. So
but the 80s didn't really have a lot of war. That that I knew of, at least. I mean,
Well, there's shit going
there
on
was
though.
Iran-Contra, and
Right. There was little.
yeah, then there was a Iraqi-Irani war. But was America involved in any of that? You're right, it was right after Vietnam. I mean,
Yeah, it really wasn't until the goal, like a real
to put in perspective, when the Karate Kid came out, Creasy was a Vietnam veteran. He had just come back from the war.
Right.
Yeah, that's what the movie was. That's when it took place, right after the war in Vietnam.
Yeah,
in
so
the 80s.
he would have been fairly fresh off of that, just
Exactly.
in time to come back to the States and open up a successful karate dojo, as one does. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. All the time.
Yeah, that's like, dude, if everybody had a karate dojo back in the day.
Of course, man. Yeah. It's just his one because he had a cool ass snake. That's why.
Oh shit, yeah. It's funny too. It's like, you remember, it seems like karate was before MMA, karate had such a different place in the psyche of people. You know what I mean? Of like the possibilities of it and how much of a badass somebody was if they knew karate. And it's just so funny, man, to think back to a time when like that was seen as like fucking badass, dude. Like,
yeah, you were black belt karate, man. You were the shit. You could kick anyone's ass.
You could wave that credential around big time. You're like, or my brother's a fucking black belt, and oh shit, you kind of thought like, fuck, man, like something happened between him and so and so. Fuck, he's a black belt, man. You really thought that too.
Yeah. But now, I mean, you go to you practice MMA for a little bit, and
right,
you've seen some shut up too.
You've seen those matchups, right? Of like these traditional martial artists versus like just some average ass like regular MMA guy. But anyway, I don't know how we got sidetracked on that. But hey, since we are sidetracked, but anyway, nonetheless, just to wrap up that topic, needless to say, man, that my takeaway from all this is just it's just unstable times, man. Everything's shaky. It doesn't seem like anybody's running anything with any
nobody wants peace, man.
Yeah, nobody wants peace. It's not in anybody's interest, and that's not a good thing too. When you looked at the ineptitude of at least our perceived government, I don't know if like there's an actual government that happens, which a lot of people think, and all this other shit is just this sort of distraction. Like, let's watch this little soap opera unfold while we really actually make these decisions and, call these little shots under the table that are making things happen around the world. Cause come on, like, I mean, just to give you one example before we're going to touch on this after, we're going to take a little bit of a pause, kind of unwind a little bit, stretch out to, I guess, in a way to say hello to the audience. But just to finish that thought, right? We've got somebody in charge of the most powerful nation in the world who can barely form a fucking sentence. That leads me to believe that there's no real weight in an actual human being that holds that office as much as there is part of the show, right? To keep things going underneath the table. And that's what I fully believe at this point in my life, Rick. Like, I think that's why we progressively get goofier and goofier with these fucking presidents, to where it's like, oh, we can kind of get away with having this distraction that actually sits in the office. You know what I mean? And we can manipulate, especially, this is what scared me recently, because I had this idea pop up into my head. I was sitting there listening to one of these like clips you hear of Biden, where it's just like somebody, the fucking guy is compromised. Right? Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. It's just, it's bad.
We'll get to that later.
Oh yeah. We'll talk more about this later, but I just sit there and realize like there's no way you can get the logic together that anybody who had any sort of intelligence that was genuinely trying to run the country from within the government would think that this like would ever get the nod in a system that was running with integrity, right? There's no fucking way. Like, nobody would be CEO. Do you think any of the fucking corporation would let a guy like Biden be the
No,
CEO
dude.
for any of these
No.
any of these boards of these major corporations for 1 fucking second would let a dude like this run? You know what I mean? Apple or some
Yeah.
shit? The
I
fuck
mean,
no.
I don't think Red Lobster would let them take the order for the customers.
No, that's what I'm saying.
That's how
Right.
bad it is.
No,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. I'm talking like big, or not even Apple, but like industry shit, you know?
No, dude. Of
These
course not.
oil and gas. Fuck no. He'd be gone in like quicker than you could think the thought. So it's obviously on purpose. You see what I'm saying? That
That he's there.
right. In some sort of attempt to just like, dude, we can use this as a way to manipulate this compromised fucking poor. At this point, I'm like, fuck, poor guy, man. I mean, for regardless of what he did in his past political career, he doesn't know what the fuck's going on right now. And for as a human being, I feel kind of bad that this has happened to this guy. And like, because there's a lot of steps along the way, right? They could have turned it a court, like very easy steps that could have prevented this from happening.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's no way you can convince me that that wasn't intentional. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, that being said, right? How fragile is, or in other words, him being there holding that office is a tool to circumvent the fucking system. And that's what's been brewing in my head for like 2-3 weeks now. Actually, ever since we've last recorded, the thought that just keeps like throbbing in my fucking head. Like, God, dude, that's very fucking frightening. But especially with what's at stake right now.
Did you see the rally with Joe Biden and John Fetterman?
Oh, the sweatpants guy or whatever?
Yes, dude.
No.
That was bad. That was really bad.
Explain what happened before we do this little.
They were so they had some sort of infrastructure, I don't know, rally. I want to say with some people on there. There was a bridge that had collapsed in Pennsylvania, so Biden went to go see it. Right, he went to go make a show or whatever over there, and John Fetterman was there too. And that dude couldn't get a sentence out, man. Poor guy. He was out there. He was just like, the bridge fell. Bridge is gonna get repaired. This guy right here.
Oh no. Okay. Yes, I saw that. Oh God, that was hard to watch.
That was hard to, dude. It was hard to watch. You know me. I like to dunk on Democrats and Ben a lot, but dude, this was really hard to watch. But
that was brutal, dude. That was
what the people of Pennsylvania voted for, right?
Yeah. When you first brought that up, I didn't know exactly what you were talking, but yes. He's like infrastructure. He couldn't even say infrastructure. It was like his mouth was cotton mouth. He froze like the South Carolina pageant chick. Remember that was like, and for as such as, and world peace in the Nicaraguan hemisphere of such as, likewise,
just like that.
Just like that.
It was not making any kind of damn sense, man.
It was literally that. He was watching if he had it, dude, bro. That was fucked up.
But why does the DNC put these candidates up like that, though, man?
That's what I'm saying. The dude, this is, here we go. Let's go full fucking 10. Dude, because I'm about to say something that
go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not saying like, here's my full stamp, like I'm signing the paperwork on this, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I do feel like the Democratic Party got like at some point like coerced. I don't know if it was conspiratorial or like intentional, but there's been a shift, right, to where it's such a like facade, man. And for somebody like Biden, like it's like he was hand select. I might have mentioned this before on.
He was hand selected.
Like he's hand selected as like, oh fuck, dude, if we can just get this bumbling moron in that chair, holy shit, we can really make some shit happen.
Yeah.
You know, and fuck.
I mean, also, they took the opportunity of COVID. They instituted all these mail-in balloting.
That was like the green light.
Yeah, dude. It was like they changed so many voting laws around. But now, I mean, we're going back to normal, right? Is this gonna? Is he gonna win again? You know, I mean,
That's
the
what
same
I'm
way.
like. There's no fucking way. I
Dude, what if he does
can't.
win though?
I know he probably will. Is what's fucked.
Yeah.
That's so.
Now what? Are we still going to talk about election integrity now, or is that still a thing that we're not supposed to talk about?
I don't know.
Dude,
I don't know anymore.
I don't know either.
I came into, and it's kind of funny that like this coincided with our lack of recording recently, but I've really had a tough time, dude. I'm just gonna full behind the scenes. Like the last 3 weeks, as far as my thoughts on uh I don't know, it was just like a few key things in my head sort of like popped, or
Yeah.
these sort of reality injections just sort of spill into your brain all at once, and it just kind of opens the floodgate. I don't know. Every now and again, you'll read something, and you'll learn some sort of fact or something, or you'll just be sitting with some information and some different perspective, and all of a sudden, it'll kind of. It's not like new information, but all of a sudden, your perspective shifts for whatever reason, and it opens up this whole door of possibilities that was right there on the surface like the whole time, and you just never saw it,
Yeah.
and then you can't unsee it. And so that's recently kind of what happened to me. And I'm not gonna lie, man, it's kind of been tough. Like it's really kind of fucked me up.
Yeah.
That was a weird
Yeah.
sort of, it was like a weird confession. It was kind of cryptic, but like it's been a real battle, dude. Kind of
Yeah.
having faith in what's going down right now. But with that being said, it's not, so there's that, right? There's the stage that we're living in, but at the same time, sometimes it makes you dig just a little bit deeper and like, hey, what's going on with, you know what I mean? What's going on with me in my life, right? And what's important. And
You know,
one of those things that's important
what's that?
is parenthood and fatherhood.
Oh, dude, it's our post Father's Day show.
Exactly.
Well,
So
it was Father's Day last weekend.
it sure was, man.
At the time of recording, yeah.
How was yours? How was your Father's Day?
Mine was actually pretty good, man. I liked it. It was really nice. What ended up
Yeah.
happening was my wife asked me, so what do you want to do for Father's Day? Like, do you want to take a day off? Do you want to go go play golf or whatever? Like, what do you want to do? A lot of these activities that she proposed was being by myself.
Right.
But I don't want to be by myself. I want to be with my kids.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, honey? You take the Sunday off. I'll take the kids. Dude, we had a shit ton of fun, bro.
That's awesome.
Like, yeah, we went to go watch Spider-Man.
Nice.
Yeah, went to go watch Spider-Man. Went to go have snow cones, eat some junk food. Went to go play video games at Cidercade.
Oh, that place is
Dude,
phenomenal.
it is fucking awesome. It was a fucking awesome day. My kids had a blast. I had a blast. And that was the best Father's Day I've ever had.
Oh
It really
shit,
is.
dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
That's so
Spider-Man
cool.
was fucking awesome, dude.
I've
I don't
heard.
know if my kids got
good
it.
things.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know if they got it because they're only 5, but they loved it though. I mean, they loved the fight sequences. They loved the art. I mean, the animation on there. It was really nice.
Cool.
And then we had snow cones, but not the cheap ones, like the ones with the really fine ice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
really
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Like
And then
$12 type shit.
yeah, that's what the whole type. Yeah, the one with the ice cream and the fruit on top.
Right. So not some little mobile contraption.
No, not that, man.
Somewhere
I went
like,
all out.
somewhere off the highway in Lafayette, Louisiana, or something like.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, not one of those.
And then we went to Cidercade, and then we played video games till we got tired, and then we left. And that was it. That was my Father's Day.
Nice.
Fucking
Fuck yeah, dude, that sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I had a pretty decent one as well. Well, Father's Day itself wasn't great just because I worked.
Oh yeah.
Hey, which is one of the pitfalls of the industry I'm in, but we always make up, the day itself to me doesn't really matter. We kind of do our own thing. So we did go out to eat as far as like the technical Father's Day sort of celebration. So nothing crazy, but I just got back from, because I finally got a little bit of time off, right? The first time in like 6 months. which is much overdue. But we went up to the hill country, man, me and the whole family.
Nice.
And we did kind of a little Central Texas tour. To be honest, we popped around, made a little brief visit to San Antonio, brief visit to Austin, Canyon Lake, San Marcos, New
That's awesome, man.
Braunfels, Wimberley. We were all
Beautiful
over the
there.
place. Yeah. Oh, just absolutely. And I have a hill country kind of have a little bit of a special place for me. I when I was in high school, my uncle, who had moved down from Nebraska to live with my dad for a little bit, he ended up working on this ranch. He stayed in Houston for a little bit, and it just wasn't his. You know what I mean? These two dudes grew up on a farm. It just wasn't the right
man.
Wasn't the right fit, man. So anyway, he ended up moving way out to this little town called Lakey, Texas, where he stayed in the little house the guy had in town, and he would work on his ranch. So that was kind of part of the deal. Like he did shit around the ranch, and he got to stay there rent free or whatever in the house, and he kind of maintained it because the guy lived in Houston. He owned the ranch. He worked in Houston. So anyway, my uncles stay out there. So therefore I was in high school, and sometimes on the weekends, dude, I would drive out there, and I was always looking for cool shit. We spent a lot of time out there. Sometimes me and my dad would go tubing, and not like the big ass, like this was cool because not just the big ass like commercial, when everybody piles in the the Guadalupe, right, with beer can, like where it's a big old tourist thing. This was more like kind of back before that specific area was real popular.
Yeah.
And so it was off the beaten path. So you just go like on a solo mission, like just the two, you know what I mean? Like just me and him, and like literally nobody else on the river.
That's fucking awesome.
Just fucking tubing and shit, and finding these little spots. Like cause I mentioned before on the show, I was always into cliff diving and stuff, like wherever I could find little places. One time we even found this little place, and we climbed up there and did some dives off of it and shit. And so anyway, that's always, and I've just over the course of my life, man, I've just haven't really got to go do that a whole lot. So like, you sit there, the years go by, time's running out. You start realizing, right, you get that perspective as to what's really important. And so a few months ago, I was like, God damn it, like I want to go to the hill country. Like it's just been, I've touched it every now and again. We'll go to Austin or whatever, and San Antonio, and kind of get like a little dose. But I was like, man, I really haven't been out there like that. So finally did it. And it was one of those things where when I was driving back, because our last stop was in Austin, and then back out here to Cyprus. And so as I was driving back, I was just like, holy fuck, did I need that? Just reset my whole, I went running up there and found some little trail near where we were staying, all rocky and shit. So I got to do
rocky shit.
All rocky. Wait. Yeah, and fucking hilly.
Okay, you're not climbing stairs. Okay, no, I get it. Okay, right. Okay. The environment was rocky, not the scene. Okay.
Super hilly, dude, and my like fucking legs were toast. But I was like, I'm only out here so often, just fuck it, fight through it. So every morning I got up and ran this long ass trail. Yeah. And but it was just great, dude. It was one of those things where it just like recalibrates everything. Like I fucking feel like myself for the first time in months. And I
do want to recommend a place though for our podcast listeners.
Yeah, go for it.
If you guys ever find yourself in Texas, and you find yourself in the hill country, there's a spot in San Marcos called the Ramon Lucio Park.
Okay.
This place is the tits, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a river that runs through this park. It's shallow enough to where you can stand in there, and it's got like three cascades. So you can go down these cascades on a tube, or even by yourself, just you can swim down these cascades. And it's so awesome, man. It's so awesome. It's a very well taken care of park. So anyway, I recommend anyone to go to the Ramon Lucio Park. Look it up on Google. It's a really nice place to visit. It's free. They don't charge you anything to just park your car there for free. And sit up there with your lawn chairs and a tube. That's it. You're done.
Yeah. No, that for sure. And that's kind of the vibe, like out that way. Like there's so much fucking beautiful little spots to do, and a lot of them are just straight up, they're like free, dude. Parks. Yeah,
they're parks.
If you get there early enough, boom, get a parking space.
Then if you get hungry, you drive down the highway and you go to Rudy's, load yourself up on some brisket.
Yeah.
Come back to the park and take a nap.
Yeah, fucking breakfast tacos fucking for 4 meals a day.
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. But
But yeah,
anyway, that was Father's
yeah,
Day.
man, fucking great Father's Day. You know who else I bet had a pretty decent Father's Day, or
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
the Bidens, the you know,
Oh yeah, yeah. Hunter was gonna negotiate 12% for the big guy for Father's Day.
right,
So
right,
yeah, yeah. No, dude, that's a shit show, man.
yeah,
That's a fucking shit show. That's gotten from bad to worse, man.
it has.
That hasn't got any better. It went from Hunter's laptop, and then it went to like whistleblowers, and then it went to like straight up extortion. Like
Dude,
the WhatsApp message from Hunter just most
bro.
recently with extortion. That like straight up, I'm gonna threaten your ass if you don't pay me.
Oh,
Like,
it's just, you know,
like it's
you know what Hunter Biden's like? You know the movie, like some Hollywood movie about like the presidency and shit, or like
yeah,
some big political figure, like when it's at the Hollywood movie, there's always that one part where he's got somebody associated with him, whoever the main character is, that's like a fucking liability. And they're
yeah.
all his little handlers are so terrified that, this person's gonna fuck up. Man, that's what
So
old little boy Biden is.
so far, here's what's going on. So it all started off with the laptop. Okay, this all started with the laptop that he left behind at some computer store, and this laptop, of course, as you guys know, had a lot of emails in there, but didn't have any context.
Mhm.
What's going on here? Like, who's he sending these emails to? What is it? Well, at the dawn of that, now we have a lot of whistleblowers coming out in both the Justice Department and the IRS, who are both saying that the Justice Department is stonewalling a lot of the investigations that are geared towards the Bidens, and they have proof. Okay. Um, there was an IRS whistleblower who talked about a document that they had to fill out because Biden had received some $5 million payment from somewhere for his company, which we don't know what the hell the company does anyway. And this document is unclassified. It's being held up by the FBI, and the FBI does not want to release it. Okay, it's not classified.
Yeah.
There's no sources or methods. They just don't want to release the receipt, the proof of the Bidens getting a $5 million payment from a foreign entity.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're trying to figure out, well, who is this foreign entity? Well, out comes this WhatsApp message saying, "You better pay me my money, or else my father, who's sitting in this room, is going to sick all his friends on you guys, and you don't want that to happen." It's getting, dude. The thing is now the media's reporting on it now, which is very different from what's been happening in the past.
Right.
They're asking questions. The White House does not want to answer any questions. Nobody wants to answer questions on this stuff, but the media's reporting on it. And the idea here is that they're trying to get Biden to not run again in 2024. They're trying to get him to step down from running because he's actually a liability now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going to happen. They're afraid that Trump is going to win, which he probably will if he's running against Biden. But like you and I talked, it's almost kind of rigged, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we say that?
Man, it's
but this is bad though. The bad part about it is this: that at the same time that this is all happening, that whistleblowers are coming out saying that the Justice Department is stonewalling investigation. They're going after the leading Republican that's challenger for the presidency. They're going after Trump. At the same time, okay, these investigations have lasted about 5 years for the Bidens, and nothing's come up yet. It took, what was a raid on Mar-a-Lago back in January or something?
God,
So
that seems like a long time ago now.
yeah, so 6 months ago, maybe. I don't, I don't have my information here, but a few months ago, and they've already brought charges. They've already taken him to court. They've already processed him. But you're telling me that an investigation for the Bidens is taking 5 years, nothing has come out of it? So
oh no, yeah,
that's happening at the same time,
right?
And this is all in front view of the people.
That's the overarching theme in the last like 5 years, is just we're getting to see, or the public,
two systems of justice.
Yeah, and we're getting to see how shit really works.
Yeah,
you know?
And it's
Like,
sick. It's sad though. It's sick and it's sad.
Yeah,
and
it is.
it ever going to change? Can it change? Do we have the power to change it?
I don't know.
I don't think so, dude. I don't
I
care
don't-
how many times we vote.
I know.
That's just not going to change. You don't vote out these bureaucrats in the Justice Department and the FBI. You don't vote them out. You can't even fire them. Their unions are so strong you can't even fire them. Like, you know what the VA does? Just give you an example. This is on a smaller scale. What the VA does, and this is because I know pharmacists that work there. If you have a pharmacy crew that isn't very productive, they'll bring their own little televisions. They'll take naps during the breaks. You know what they do? They just hire more pharmacists to compensate for the ones that aren't working, because they can't fire the ones that aren't working. Okay?
Yeah.
So you go in there, you do your time for about 2 or 3 years, and then you start slacking off, man, because you know they're not going to fire you. And all they do is just increase the amount of staffing coming in. Hey, let's hire 3 more people because it's just not getting done. Well, why don't you fire 3 more people that aren't doing anything? Well, because we can't. We're the government. And so imagine that, but on the scale of the FBI, you can't fire these agents. You can't elect them. You cannot unelect them. And you can't fire them. They're stuck in there. So this shit's not going to change anytime soon.
Is that, yeah? And do you think that's the root of the problem? I mean, that may be kind of an obvious. It seems like that's what you're saying, but yeah, well, and also with all the criticism,
people in power are given way too much power for what they're hired to do.
Right. Well, and like you said, there's this whole sort of layer of fat that doesn't need to exist within all these agencies that are, you look at just all the recent criticism the last several years for stuff with the FBI, right?
Yeah.
And there's obviously still a root of a lot of fantastic agents, right? The work that they do is phenomenal.
I mean, maybe the ones that catch child porn and shit like that. Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they're, regardless of the outliers, there is an element that operates at a very high level, I guess. Is that my bigger point? But because of the dead weight,
or these partisan
what I mean?
actors.
There's these there's shenanigans that are really bringing the reputation of the entity down.
So we heard of Peter Strzok, the guy who had an insurance policy in case Trump won. He was telling his little girlfriend that. And he worked for the FBI,
Mm-hmm.
And that was just the tip of the iceberg for what is really happening now. Peter Strzok was just one person within the FBI who was conspiring against the president to have an insurance policy. But now that we have the Durham report come out, now that we've got the Justice Department and how they're operating at present day, you see that it's not one Peter Strzok. The whole agency is filled with these people.
Yeah.
They are filled with this two system of justice, and they do believe in that. So it's sad. It's scary, because if they don't like you, if they don't like your politics, they're going to go and go to your house with guns drawn, trying to take you out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have Antifa behind you, they won't do anything to you. But if you're conservative, they may not like you very much. So,
for sure.
Anyway,
well, and man, and like the FBI has access to everything too.
Oh yeah.
Don't forget that.
They have access to your Twitter.
Yeah.
Not TikTok. Well, maybe they have access to TikTok now because they've kind of laid off TikTok.
Yeah.
So maybe they give them access already. Like, they're okay. Well, we'll bring on 2 agents to be part of our staff, and now you can, harass us
for sure.
But yeah, man, it's crazy.
It is,
man. But there's no way to change it. I don't think there's any way to change it. You can't. It's riding from the not even Congress can change it. What can they do?
Right.
The power of the purse? Oh, you're going to defund the FBI? Come on. Seriously.
No. Yeah, no.
No, you're not going to defund shit. So, no, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. With that heartwarming or to end on a heartwarming note, I guess we'll start to bring this to a close there. But at least we got the Father's Day stuff in. You know what I mean? There's still good people out there doing good things, and
there's still fathers out there.
There's still fathers, man. There's still people operating out of a sense of love, for their fellow citizens, their neighbor.
So going back to the Father's Day thing.
Yeah.
One thing that so you've talked about this already, how in the last 2 weeks or whatever, you've had this epiphany of how things really work, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have these two dumbasses in office?
To be clear, it's like, it's not like these are new thoughts, right?
No.
Yeah. But yeah, just to kind of specify what I was saying earlier, but it's like, in other words, like, yeah, it was more of like this kind of perspective shift where all the stuff kind of flooded in at once, right? Like all this info I've been gathering and all these little facts year over year, and then they all sort of like exploded, and it's like the puzzle sort of comes together. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I was going to say, so I think about, tied into the Father's Day thing, I think about like, what kind of world are we going to leave our kids?
Right.
When I'm my dad's age, in my 70s, and my kids are in their 30s, right? What kind of world are they going to be in? And the way I kin it is to, dude, I can only relate it to things that I know, that I've seen, right? So I kind of related to, this is going to sound stupid, but I kind of related to that cartoon Batman Beyond, where it's like Batman in the future. The kid, there's a Batman replacement in the future.
Yes.
And the thing is that in his ear, he's got old Bruce Wayne telling him what to do and how to fight and stuff like that while he's out there fighting crime.
Right.
But the one thing that Bruce Wayne doesn't know is crime present day. He still the new Batman still has to fight the Jokers, but it's a more brutal form of the gang that Batman once fought, the original one.
It's evolved.
And the new Batman, he has to evolve with it. He's evolved with it naturally. He knows what these guys do and how they operate. Mm-hmm. Something that the old Batman can't relate to. So I'm hoping that my kids are going to be like the new me out there, but they've evolved to the society the way it is at present day that I cannot never relate to, because society has changed so much. It's going to change a lot by the time I turn 70, and I can't get it. But I can tell them how to react to certain things. Right. I can be that voice in their ear, like Bruce Wayne was to the new Batman and Batman Beyond. What was his name? I forgot his name. Terry. I think his name was Terry.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a really, at first I was kind of, where's he going with this? I'm not real familiar with the show, but no, that's an excellent analogy. That is kind of true. And in a similar fashion, I kind of think of the same thing too, right? When I think of my kids and the world that they're coming up in is so much different. The message, I guess the underlying message that I try to inject like a human element to like a real, in other words, the biological, because at the end of the day, right, all this political shit and all these global politics and government and all these things, work, blah, blah, blah. All these things are all great, but you could get eaten by a fucking bear too.
Yeah.
Right. Like, in other words, we haven't superseded our accountability to Mother Nature, regardless. Right.
Yeah.
A storm could come by and just shut the whole fucking thing down or whatever. A meteor could, like, at any given moment. So
just turn off the lights. You see what happens to society when you shut down the power.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
That being said, that's the ultimate, ultimate equalizer, right? So that's still here. So I guess I can't really tell them how to prepare for what happens in the future, because I have no idea. The future is developing week to week to week. And in some sense, their adaptability to new interfaces with technology is that's the thing I'm realizing about, like, the younger people, their adaptability to certain things like that. And they're regardless of what you may criticize the current generation or the generation that's kind of evolving, is their minds work a little bit differently than ours. 100. I think that's safe to say.
They've
Um,
evolved.
right. There's a lot of things obviously that they're missing, and I think that's what's, to me, is when I try to, like, hey, I'm I guess like a foot into the old world.
Yeah.
Let me make sure that I pass the knowledge of what was important from the world. It's almost like you're passing the torch, like, here, take this new world, because this is something that's kind of beyond my understanding. Like, my brain can't move that fast. Like, in
Yeah.
other words, I can't receive information about it's a fucking mercenary group that wants to march into Moscow and take it. Like, I can't balance that with like what's going to happen at work tomorrow, like the stuff I have to do
Yeah.
just to earn a living to keep my lights on and have my kids have a warm bed. Like, I can't process all of that um, because it's coming too fast. My brain as a kid didn't evolve into receiving that much differing information in that short of window of a time and be able to
Yeah.
process it effectively to manipulate my environment. I just didn't. Theirs did, kind of, though. Does that make
It's what?
sense? Their brains sort of did. Like, the younger you get, their brains are going to be more prepared in a way to deal with sort of the rapid,
Changes.
yeah,
Yeah.
in a way that we're not. I'm not saying that they'll make the right decisions or they'll be prepared, because there's a lot of things that they are missing, like a lot of practical sort of knowledge is
Yeah.
starting to go by the
Dude, I
wayside.
know.
But they do, I think that they've developed, their brains are developing very different because of the amount of input that it's receiving. Like, if we were to take it, it's like if it was like a CPU, you know. So anyway, I just think it's interesting to, in
Yeah.
other words, it's hard to predict what lies ahead because we obviously have no fucking clue
Yeah.
with shit
Yeah.
like
I know
AI,
what you mean.
you know.
It's crazy, man. Yeah, I know. I know. So all I can do is be that little voice in their ear that tells them how to navigate the world, but I can't tell you how to think about it.
Yeah, for sure. And
You know?
and don't think that what I want to kind of close with is like, that's why, shows like ours are important. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but
No, we will.
because I think what we provide is like unfiltered sort of analysis of the world around us, coming from a source of the demographic of people that are dealing with it in real time, as opposed to an entity with interests of like, oh, we want to, it's obviously at this point that the traditional media is kind of almost comical. But there's a more sort of it's a complicated way you have to decipher what's going on in the media now, because it's interlaced with actual peer-to-peer communication via social media, right? Like
Yeah.
that's actually being coerced. So who's to say you couldn't present some entity as like, oh, I'm just a regular TikToker, and it may be some fresh-faced kid, right, who does all the regular tropes that all the TikToker populars do, but
Yeah.
they're interweaving like certain things they want you to focus your attention on. Does
Here's
that make sense?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Okay, for example, when you're growing up, everybody wants to belong to a clique. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking for groupthink. All right. You're looking for a clique, someone to a group to belong to, someone you're gonna jive with, a group of people that you're gonna that are more towards what you remember doing.
Yeah.
You had the cholos hanging out with the cholos, or
Yeah.
people who like rock music would hang out together, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But there was a time also when you left that environment and you kind of were by yourself, and that was college.
Yeah.
I was in college, I was by myself a lot. I was a loner in college,
Okay.
and I had that moment to kind of develop my own thoughts, what was wrong, what was right, kind of look at things. But now you have social media. But if we had social media, I would always be thinking the way that the phone tells me to think. I wouldn't have that moment of clarity by myself,
Yeah.
where I could decide what is right and what is wrong for myself.
Yeah.
I would always be looking for groupthink. So I got to teach my kids, don't fall for the groupthink. Okay, read things objectively and with criticism and opposing. Even if you agree with it, find ways to oppose it.
Yeah.
So that you know that you're truly independent.
Oh, no,
Anyway, that's something I got to teach my kids.
exactly. And well, so the interesting thing is like, I participate in that world to a degree, right? Kind of honestly, because of when we started the show, I was kind of forced to for like promotional purposes. But in doing that, it sort of taught me how how that works. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because, I'll participate in it. Like I said, the entry point was just for the show, but then you kind of get sucked into it and it's like, oh, wow. But because I have a brain rooted in the world before that, it recognizes, sometimes if you let it, you can just, it's like all subconscious input and you don't know what's happening as far as like sitting there scrolling and being like, oh, fuck, I've been on this thing for 20 minutes. It seemed like 10 seconds. Right. You'll recognize that, but it's like, I'm recognizing it because my brain developed with like the entire history, or at least, maybe like half of it where that wasn't a reality. So I noticed the difference, but like to somebody of a certain age where there is no, like what do they call it in an experiment? Like
Critical thinking.
well, critical thinking, but like the control in a variable, right? Like there's no, there's nothing to like bounce that off of or compare it to. So
Yeah, I see what you mean. There's nothing to, like you said, you grew up in a different age where that was not a thing, so you can recognize it. It stands out like a sore thumb to you.
Even if
but to somebody who
Yeah.
never got exposed to that, it blends in. You don't recognize it.
Right. And even with that though, they've got it down to a science so crazy that like, bro, it'll suck you in and you don't even know it.
Yeah, you go down the rabbit hole.
You go, man.
Do you ever come out? Who knows?
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. It's tough. But anyway, with that, I think we will end this program. So thank you for joining us as always, but also, thank you for bearing with us. If you're coming back and you're still subscribed and we're getting these episodes out and you're enjoying them, it's really important for shows like this to exist. Like I said, for that direct communication, thought for the sake of thought, for the sake of discussion. So anyhow, keep thinking, don't stay positive as best you can, be good to your loved ones and have a great summer. Stay out of this heat. Jesus Christ. It's fucking hot, man.
Unless you're in Australia, then, go outside. It's nice.
Yeah, you're right. Down here in Texas, though, it's a little brutal. So we're trying to stay cool, but other than that, have a good week. Take care.